back, I want to take a moment to continue on talking about JavaScript and how we can really leverage it along with our knowledge of HTML and CSS to make some really kind of cool things. And for this one, what we're going to end up doing will be, well, you'll see. I really want to introduce a new event. We've talked about click. You're probably clicked to death by now. So let's introduce hover, which is another event that we can listen for. It adds that extra level of like interactivity to everything we do. So even if it's not doing a whole lot on its own, it increases the user's feeling that this website is really interactive. So let's take a look at it. It's a little different than what we've seen with click so far. So yeah, that was going to be fun. So what do I want to do? Well, I think for this example, we're gonna make dojo notes. Everything ends up with dojo at the beginning. And what I want to do inside the dojo notes, maybe we'll just have a bunch of like post-it notes, sticky notes, and we're going to create a class called row, and we're going to create a class called note, and I'll just give it some random text for now. And let's have a couple of these. I think 4 will be fine. That'll get the point across. So just starting with the HTML, this is what the output looks like. We'll add the CSS and JavaScript in as we go. So if the CSS, so this part, we'll get to the JavaScript in a second, but we do need something to make it resemble the sticky notes that we were talking about. So let's make our notes flex a little bit by telling the row to be display flex. Display flex. Not really sure how I want to arrange them, but I really think something along the lines of, yeah, maybe we can just have them center themselves a bit. So we can do justify content, center, and then we'll go to the center. And now the note class. The note class is notably going to represent like the box that we're really seeing most of on the page. We're going to make them have a background color. Well, let's do that last. Let's give it a height and a width. Height 50 pixels, width 50 pixels. We're just going to assume that they're all identical. It'll make them look very uniform. 50 and 50. Do we have enough space for them? No, we will make them bigger if we need to. It looks like we do. Okay, that's fine. Height and width are both 50 pixels. I'm going to tell them to have a padding of 10 pixels and a margin of 10 pixels. And I'm going to tell them to have a border, 1 pixel solid. We'll definitely go black. So we have those borders. And now I'm going to make them look relatively like they are notes in a way. So we'll give them a background color. I think light yellow will look the part. So with the justify content center, they're going to try keeping themselves in the center. So that's kind of nice for us. And what I want to do, this is going to be an interactive exercise. I want to, when I bring my mouse over one of these notes, I want it to tell me, or tell me somehow that I'm interacting with the note. So I could either change the color of the note, or maybe I could make the mouse cursor change from this arrow to kind of like a click finger. so that I know I can interact with this. But I think I have an interesting idea. So let's give it a class of shadow. So we'll like lift the node up in a way, and then it'll gain a shadow. And what I want to do is let's give it a box shadow. I think maybe 5 pixels, 5 pixels, 5 pixels. I'm just coming up with numbers. I think 5 by 5 will look good. And then let's just see what it's going to look like. Let's add it to one of them for now. So remember, we can add this class. An element can have more than one class. Now, box shadow looks a little dark. Maybe I can lighten it a bit. Lighten up. I like that. Yeah, I like that. So that's an okay box shadow. Although maybe if it's the same level as these, it doesn't look like it should cast a shadow. So if you remember, we have position, relative. It's actually kind of nice in this situation. We can tell it to do, well, from the bottom, move up by 5 pixels. And yeah, so it kind of lifts itself up a little bit. So it looks like that is the activated note, the one that we're interacting with. Maybe I could have a cursor pointer. I hope it gets recorded, the cursor. Yeah, I think it does. So yeah, that's the shadow class. We know it's working. Now to free up a bit of space, let's get back JavaScript. So what we're going to need to do is have a way to add this listener when we hover. And what I want to do is create a function called add shadow. Yeah, and I'm going to make sure that I pass like the element in just so we have an easier time working with it. And what I really want to do is, well, for now, let's console log the element just so we can see what it is again. I'm reasonably sure I know what it is. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to say, so we've used onClick before. Now we're going to be using a different one. Yeah, we're going to be using on mouse over. And we want to run the add shadow. And we're going to pass it this. And let's see, I'm going to go to my console, have that open too. Yep, that's the element. But what about element dot class list? We mentioned it before. This is how we can access all of the classes that are on this element. Is it not updating for me? Okay, it has note, and the rest, yeah, I wasn't reading it right. It does have this note at the top. Kind of one of the problems with JS, but it doesn't print what I was expecting there. So it has a node class. So what I want to do is add another class to this, and that can be accomplished with relatively simple code. I want to dot add. Well, our class to cast a shadow is shadow. And I'm going to clear this. And in fact, you don't need console anymore. What I want to do is have this div 4 times instead of a mixture of divs. So I think it'll be good to have the same one. There we go. So now we have that same div multiple times. And when I hover over it, and this one, and this one, and this one. So that makes them all hover. But what if I want to take it away when I leave? Well, that's actually almost just as easy. So we have the add shadow. We could have the remove shadow. And instead of doing an add shadow, we do a remove shadow. So really not too crazy. So we have on mouse over. I believe the other one is called on mouse leave. So this one, we can attach more than one listener for. And we will remove shadow. And I will have multiple of this one. Maybe these tools aren't quite ideal for here, but it's fine. There we go. And now when I hover over a note, I like that effect. That's kind of nice. That's kind of pleasant. So yeah, try out hover. Should be a really fun assignment that is a little open-ended, but should be still fun, where you get to use hover. And yeah, have fun.